Breaking, Malcolm-Jamal Warner didn't just die. What the autopsy found will break you. What if I told you this beloved TV icon didn't just drown? That the autopsy report, the official final word, is hiding a twisted secret so dark, so unbelievable, it could shatter everything you thought you knew. Yeah, buckle up, because what you're about to hear isn't your typical tragic Hollywood headline. Imagine a man, a legend, Malcolm-Jamal Warner. The wholesome Theo from The Cosby Show, silenced not by fate, but by something far more sinister lurking beneath the surface. Was it a simple accident, a tragic misstep, or a carefully orchestrated cover-up that the powers that be desperately want buried? We're peeling back the curtain on an investigation that's got everyone talking, gasping, and questioning the very truth behind his untimely death. What if the ocean didn't just claim his life, but was the final stage of a chilling, calculated silence? Stay with me, because this story is going to flip everything you think you know upside down. You're not going to want to miss a second. Ready? Let's dive in. Malcolm-Jamal Warner was more than just the lovable Theo from The Cosby Show. He was a symbol of a generation's innocence, a beacon of light in a world too often clouded by scandal and darkness. But behind that familiar smile and those nostalgic television moments lay a man wrestling with shadows most never knew existed. In the months before his sudden, tragic death, Malcolm was reported to have withdrawn from the public eye, turning down interviews, skipping events, and most shockingly, canceling a major podcast deal that was expected to launch a new chapter in his career. Sources close to him hinted at a restless spirit, a man burdened by truths he was desperate to expose, but fearful would cost him everything. Whispers in Hollywood corridors spoke of a raw, unfiltered documentary Malcolm was working on, a project that aimed to shine an unflinching spotlight on systemic abuse, cover-ups, and corruption within the entertainment industry. Names, faces, and stories that would shake the foundations of tens. Yet, few knew the depths of the storm gathering beneath the surface of his calm exterior. Then came the trip to Costa Rica. What was supposed to be a peaceful getaway quickly morphed into a nightmare none could have foreseen. Witnesses recall seeing Malcolm swimming near the shore, serene and smiling as if the ocean had finally granted him a moment of peace. But tranquility was short-lived. A sudden, violent undertow dragged him beneath the waves in a terrifying instant. Bystanders screamed, froze, and scrambled for help. But there were no lifeguards nearby, no rescue equipment, only panic and helplessness. When his body was recovered, it was clear something was terribly wrong. The autopsy revealed over 2 liters of seawater in his lungs, a brutal confirmation of drowning, but more alarming were the traces of a toxic chemical compound found deep within his respiratory system. A substance not naturally found in ocean water but associated with poor maintenance of water filtration systems, or worse. Deliberate contamination. The resort where Malcolm stayed had long ignored complaints from guests about burning eyes, strange odors, and difficulty breathing after using the pool facilities. Maintenance requests for shutdown had been repeatedly denied by management, unwilling to risk losses during the peak tourist season. An anonymous employee later confessed that management prioritized profits over safety, knowingly exposing guests to hazardous conditions. But the story didn't end there. Surveillance footage leaked online showed Malcolm by the poolside.com and contemplative, sipping water and then diving in. Moments later, the video glitch abruptly cut, skipping several seconds. When the footage resumed, Malcolm was visibly struggling, coughing violently, clutching his chest, desperately trying to climb out before collapsing beneath the water's surface. The footage quickly went viral, sparking a firestorm of outrage and grief from fans worldwide who watched helplessly as the man they loved fought for his life in vain. Further investigations uncovered scratches and bruises on Malcolm's body consistent with a desperate fight against sharp rocks beneath the water, evidence of his refusal to surrender even in his final moments. Adding fuel to the fire were whispers of shadowy figures seen trailing Malcolm in the days before his death, mysterious phone calls that vanished from his device, and a draft message on his phone hinting at a deeper peace found only in solitude. Friends reported his mood had darkened, not from depression, but from a fierce determination to expose truths that others wanted buried. The entertainment industry, known for its glitz and glamour, was suddenly cast in a much darker light. The questions mounted. Why was there no emergency response at a high-end resort? Why were safety warnings ignored? And most haunting of all, was Malcolm's death truly an accident, or a silencing? The official narrative struggled to hold as more details surfaced. His mother's heart-wrenching cry at the hospital, "My baby, why didn't anyone save him?" echoed, The collective grief and suspicion of a world unwilling to accept a simple explanation, and just when the world tried to grieve. The autopsy report dropped a bombshell. Traces of a rare neuroparalytic toxin, a substance known to freeze muscles and vocal cords, rendering victims unable to scream or swim, were found alongside the chemical irritants in Malcolm's lungs. This revelation transformed the tragedy into a chilling scenario of calculated cruelty. How had such a toxin entered his system? Was it a tragic accident from the resort's negligent upkeep? Or was there something more sinister at play? The silence from the resort's management only deepened the mystery. No apologies. No public statements. Only boarded windows and cancelled reservations. Legal experts began discussing the possibility of gross negligence lawsuits, and whispers of criminal investigations into potential manslaughter started circulating. Meanwhile, Malcolm's unfinished documentary, rumored to contain explosive exposés on industry abuse, disappeared along with his personal devices, wiping out any hope of revealing his intended truth. The shocking revelations about Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death didn't stop with the toxic chemicals found in his lungs or the suspicious circumstances surrounding the resort where he was staying. As investigators dug deeper, a disturbing pattern of negligence and cover-up began to emerge, shaking the very foundation of what was supposed to be a luxury getaway. Multiple anonymous sources within the resort leaked internal memos revealing that complaints from guests about the pool's water quality had been piling up for weeks. People reported burning eyes, respiratory issues, and strange tastes in the water, all ignored or downplayed by management, who were more concerned about their profits than anyone's safety. One whistleblower claimed that the filtration system was outdated and malfunctioning, causing harmful chemicals to build up to dangerous levels, yet no action was taken. Maintenance crews had reportedly begged for a temporary pool closure to fix the problem, only to be overruled by executives fearing a loss in tourist bookings during the busy season. The resort's top brass even allegedly went so far as to instruct staff to avoid discussing the water issues with guests, turning a blind eye while Malcolm and others were exposed to hazardous conditions. But the scandal grew even darker. Leaked surveillance footage from the resort showed suspicious activity around the pool area just hours before Malcolm's death. A shadowy figure can be seen lurking near the filtration system late at night, tampering with equipment in a way that suggested intentional sabotage. Security logs mysteriously had gaps during that time, fueling speculation that someone wanted the evidence erased or concealed. Meanwhile, Malcolm's phone and laptop vanished without explanation shortly after his death, wiping out any digital breadcrumbs that might have shed light on what he was working on or who might have wanted to silence him. Silence him. Industry insiders began to whisper about powerful figures threatened by Malcolm's upcoming documentary, which was said to expose a network of corruption, abuse, and exploitation in Hollywood circles. Several close friends revealed Malcolm had been pressured to stop his project, even threatened, but he refused to back down. An unnamed source stated, "He was scared, but determined. He knew what he was up against, and he was ready to bring the truth to light, no matter the cost." The public reaction was immediate and furious. Fans took to social media to voice their disbelief and anger, flooding hashtags demanding justice for Malcolm and accountability from the resort and those in the entertainment industry who might have played a role in his demise. Celebrity voices joined the chorus, calling for thorough investigations and transparency, while conspiracy theories ran rampant about who could benefit from Malcolm's silence. Even the resort's parent company faced intense scrutiny, with calls for boycotts and investigations into their safety protocols and business ethics. Politicians and consumer protection agencies weighed in, promising to probe the allegations of negligence and possible foul play. The situation escalated into a full-blown crisis for the resort, which saw its bookings plummet and stock prices nosedive amid the swirling controversy. Lawsuits began piling up, with victims of the pool's toxic conditions seeking damages, and Malcolm's family filed a wrongful death claim accusing the resort of gross negligence and deliberate cover-up. Amid the chaos, rumors circulated that the resort's CEO had resigned abruptly under pressure, though no official statement confirmed this. Legal analysts predicted the case could drag on for years, exposing uncomfortable truths about corporate greed and the dark side of the vacation industry. Meanwhile, fans and activists organized vigils and protests demanding that Malcolm's death not be forgotten or dismissed as a mere accident. The hashtag Justice for Malcolm trended worldwide, with heartfelt messages and memories flooding social platforms. People shared stories of how Malcolm's work had inspired them, and how his sudden loss left a void that no amount of official explanations could fill. Behind the scenes, Hollywood's elite faced mounting pressure to respond. Some former colleagues broke their silence, revealing a culture of fear and silence that had long protected abusers and silenced whistleblowers. One well-known actor, speaking anonymously, lamented, "Malcolm was one of the few brave enough to speak out." His death has sent shockwaves through the community. Studios and networks issued carefully worded statements expressing condolences but avoiding direct commentary on the allegations, fueling skepticism about how deep the rot truly ran. At the heart of the public's outrage was a fundamental question: how could a man as beloved and influential as Malcolm-Jamal Warner be so easily discarded and silenced? The mystery deepened with the revelation of a chilling voice memo discovered on a backup device belonging to Malcolm. In the recording, he speaks calmly but with a palpable urgency, warning a close friend that his life might be in danger because of the truths he intended to expose. He pledges to keep fighting for justice and implores his friend to make sure his story gets told if anything happens to him. This recording quickly went viral, sparking new waves of speculation and fueling demands for a full investigation into possible foul play. The combination of toxic chemical poisoning, suspicious sabotage, erased digital evidence, and a haunting final message painted a picture that was impossible to ignore. Investigators expanded their search beyond the resort, probing into the entertainment industry's hidden networks and alleged criminal connections. As the scandal surrounding Malcolm-Jamal Warner's death exploded into public consciousness, the fallout was swift and merciless, sending shockwaves through the entertainment industry, corporate circles, and government offices alike. Legal experts began predicting a tsunami of lawsuits, not just against the resort, but also targeting the deeper web of negligence and potential complicity linked to those who stood to lose the most from Malcolm's revelations. The resort's management, once quiet and evasive, faced mounting pressure as employees came forward anonymously to expose a culture of fear, intimidation, and deliberate misinformation designed to bury complaints and silence whistleblowers. Sources revealed that several mid-level managers had been threatened with termination or legal action if they spoke out, fueling speculation about a coordinated effort to keep the truth from surfacing. Meanwhile, political figures seized the moment to position themselves as champions of consumer safety and justice, calling for urgent investigations into not only the resort, but the broader tourism industry's lax safety standards and corporate accountability. A bipartisan task force was rumored to be forming, with promises of hearings that could expose decades of cover-ups and negligence. Public outrage translated into real-world consequences. The resort saw a dramatic plunge in bookings, its parent company's stock tumbled on Wall Street, and investors demanded answers and resignations. Rumors of a sudden, unexplained CEO departure swirled, and several board members were reportedly under investigation for their roles in ignoring or suppressing safety concerns. The legal landscape became even more complicated as Malcolm's family pursued a wrongful death lawsuit, alleging gross negligence and seeking not just damages but the truth behind the dark waters that claimed his life. Their legal team hinted at uncovering a conspiracy that extended far beyond faulty filters or careless management, pointing fingers at shadowy figures who had allegedly threatened Malcolm for his documentary work. The entertainment industry's reaction was a mixture of solidarity, fear, and calculated silence. Many stars who had known Malcolm personally struggled to speak openly, fearing repercussions or tarnishing their own careers. Yet, others found courage in his memory, stepping forward with stories of systemic abuse and corruption that Malcolm had begun to expose. A wave of #MeToo-style revelations threatened to topple powerful executives and reshape Hollywood's landscape forever. Meanwhile, activists and Malcolm's fans mobilized globally, organizing protests and vigils demanding justice and transparency. Social media campaigns calling for official inquiries and corporate reform gained momentum, capturing the attention of major news outlets and forcing politicians to respond. The emotional weight of Malcolm's death, combined with the explosive allegations of poisoning, sabotage, and silencing, created a potent cocktail that stirred anger, grief, and demand for change. Yet amid the chaos, a darker narrative unfolded. Investigators discovered that critical security footage from the marina near the resort, where Malcolm was last seen alive, had been deliberately erased, leaving gaping holes in the timeline of his final hours. Attempts to recover this footage faced mysterious technical failures, fueling suspicion of tampering at the highest levels. Further digging unearthed disturbing ties between resort executives and known figures with histories of intimidation and coercion, suggesting that Malcolm's death may have been more than just a tragic accident or negligence. It might have been a cold, calculated act to silence a truth-teller. These revelations sparked fierce debates online and in political circles about the extent to which money and influence could corrupt justice. Malcolm's unfinished documentary became a symbol of the fight against these forces, a testament to the courage it takes to confront power. In a haunting twist, a final piece of evidence surfaced: a hard drive entrusted to a trusted friend days before Malcolm's fatal trip. The drive contained raw footage of him addressing the camera with a chilling warning: "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. I'm not afraid to speak the truth. And if that makes me a target, so be it." This video galvanized his supporters and intensified calls for a federal investigation, turning what was once a heartbreaking loss into a rallying cry for justice. As the investigation expanded, some insiders began leaking information about how certain Hollywood insiders had been trying to discredit Malcolm in the months leading up to his death, spreading rumors, questioning his mental health, and attempting to isolate him from allies. This smear campaign, experts say, was designed to undermine his credibility and weaken his documentary's impact, but Malcolm's story was too powerful to silence. His mother became the voice of a generation refusing to accept injustice. Speaking out in interviews with raw emotion and fierce determination, she vowed to carry her son's fight forward, to make sure the world never forgets the man who was robbed of his life and legacy. Public pressure forced some networks to finally acknowledge the controversy, but many stayed guarded, fearing what further investigations might reveal about their complicity or negligence. Behind closed doors, however, the industry was bracing for upheaval. The ripple effects of Malcolm's death reached into boardrooms and executive suites, threatening careers and shaking up long-standing alliances. In the midst of this turmoil, Malcolm's fans and activists pledged to keep his memory alive, not just as a beloved actor but as a symbol of courage and resistance. Candlelight vigils lit up cities worldwide, murals honoring his life appeared on walls from Los Angeles to Johannesburg, and social media buzzed with heartfelt tributes and renewed demands for accountability. The tragedy exposed a painful truth: fame and talent offer no protection from the dark forces of greed, silence, and violence. Malcolm-Jamal Warner's story is far from over, and now more than ever, your voice matters. What happened to him wasn't just a tragic accident, it's a chilling reminder of the dangers of silence, greed, and unchecked power. Are we going to let this slip away as another forgotten headline, or will we demand the truth? Will you stand with those fighting to expose the lies and hold the guilty accountable? This isn't just about one man's death, it's about a system that tries to bury inconvenient truths and silence those brave enough to speak out. So before you scroll away, ask yourself, how many more voices will be lost if we stay quiet? Share this story far and wide. Speak his name. Push for answers. Demand justice for Malcolm and every victim silenced by fear and corruption. If you believe in truth and accountability, hit that like button, comment your thoughts, and subscribe for the real, raw stories no one else will tell. We're just getting started uncovering the layers behind this tragedy, and you won't want to miss what's coming next. Together, we can turn silence into a roar that no one can ignore.